feel like it's been way too long since my last Should You Back It, but with 8,300 backers, with $1.3 million, Moonrakers Titans is a good time to come back to it. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is Should You Back It for Moonrakers Titans. Moonrakers Titans, which is currently at $1.3 million, 8,300 backers, 22 days to go, 2 videos listing 5 reasons you should not back Moonrakers. I'm sure I can come up with a few here as well, but that's not the format. Over there on Room and Board, if you want 5 reasons not to back Moonrakers, he'll help you with that. And if you want 5 reasons you should not back Moonrakers from Crack & Co, they'll try, but a little less successfully, help out with that as well. In this case, we're going to be going over the campaign, timestamps to everything down below. This is not a review of the games, but I will talk about briefly my experience with them. Maybe before the campaign is up, I'll have a full review or first impressions. It's weird because the practical reality is to review something I like playing it multiple times, and with 3 expansions mixed in, the configurations and anomalies and the ways things mix and match, and then Luminor on top of that, there's a lot of options here, so I don't even know what to necessarily call it, but we'll figure that out later. Today is just Should You Back It. Moonrakers Titans. Over on Kickstarter, you have the option of spending anywhere from as little as $35 to just get one of the expansions. I don't know why you would do that, he says, to the 57 people who are currently doing it. Or alternatively, you can be spending up to hundreds and hundreds of dollars if you want to get absolutely everything. This will be broken down by timestamps as usual. We're going to go through the campaign, talking briefly about Moonrakers, what each of the expansion adds, what Luminor adds, what all the things you can get are, what makes sense to get or not to get if you're interested in this. And at the end of the day, this is a premium product. At the end of the day, this is a premium game. You can go out and buy Dominion on the second-hand market, wherever it is, for 30 bucks, or even buy it new for 40, 50 bucks, and you can walk away with a great game. If you are interested in Moonrakers, be very interested, because this will end up costing you money, especially as you grow to like and want all the content. Moonrakers Titans. What is this game? Moonrakers, well, Moonrakers Titans is a big box. Moonrakers, what is Moonrakers? Moonrakers is a deck-building negotiation game at its core. The general idea is you're going through the game, you're going on missions, you're trying to accomplish these missions, and you're doing so working together to a degree. Working together with other people at the table will allow you to accomplish harder missions with more difficult rewards, with more beneficial rewards, but with more difficult missions, and you're going to negotiate with the other players to see who gets what as a distribution. The problem is if the mission fails, no one gets anything. If the mission succeeds, you all get a little bit of something, and so there's a degree of working together with others, at least up until you get to the point where you realize someone's about to win the game. And then you're going to have to try to figure out which missions you can accomplish on your own, which objectives you can cash in for those extra points. It is excellent deck building, it is excellent negotiation, and it all works together in space. And then they have a bunch of expansions. Expansions that are meant to both add to what the game does, as well as expansions that are in some way meant to partially solve some of the complaints around the base game. Complaints that I had as well if you check out my review. Over here, 5 Reasons Not to Back. The third video down is my review of the game, which is a game that I really like with complaints. Complaints that the expansions do fix for me. Moonrakers Titans is coming to, well, Moonrakers, again, just calling it Titans. Moonrakers is bringing to you 3 expansions, a big box, and a free solo cooperative campaign. That's what's being offered here on the table. The expansions, going through them one at a time, we have Nomads, which gives you a degree of events in the galaxy, voting on different events. It gives you a degree of a bit of a movement chart that you can see over here as you move around to different areas. It adds a few extra areas to the game, just adding extra things. If you want a little bit of figuring out what's going on in the galaxy, voting over the influences the galaxy has, being mindful of moving around, being mindful of your positioning in the galaxy, whether you are or are not able to actually ally based on where in the galaxy you are. It adds a degree of a small degree of a physical presence and a few other peripheral elements around that. Then we have Overload. Overload is going to give you, here's Nomad over here, let's go to Luminor. Let's do it in the order, no, they have them all listed over here. Let's do Overload. Overload gives you new, more powerful cards. That's the primary thing it gives you, new and more powerful cards. If you want better and enhanced versions of the cards in the base game, Overload is going to give you that, as well as a bunch of other things to mix and match. Overload is primarily more and more powerful content for the game, adding the variety to the cards, the parts, the base cards, all these things in the game. And then Binding Ties gives you a reason to work together. I mentioned already that as you head up that power track, you get to a point where it's a little bit less of an incentive to work with others. Binding Ties solves that in 2 ways. The first is that it encourages cooperation more and more by the very nature of the way it gives all the players a power track to move up, and it gives you a power track to move up based on alliancing with other players, and then at the end of it, you also have ways to cash in that power track. So it both incentivizes more alliances, while also giving you more ways to cash in on those extra few points towards the end of the game. Binding Ties heavily addresses the problem where some players, depending on your group, will pull back from working together in Moonrakers. Binding Ties punishes you a drop more for not being willing to work with others. Then we have Luminor. Lumina is going to be the free expansion, a digital co-op expansion that creates an entirely new way to play Moonrakers using the base game and expansions for free. This is a digital hybrid expansion. This is not going to be a physical aspect. This is going to be something you can play on a tablet, on a web interface, on, I don't know their exact plans down the road, Steam, Itch, whatever it is, but you have some way of playing this on some sort of digital interface where you can go through the game, going on a bit of a solo progression of accomplishing mission after mission, treating the computer, the AI, the story progression as the encounters you're going through, rather than having the typical encounters you have in a typical contracts you'll have in a game of Moonrakers. It lets you play the game solo, it lets you play the game with other players, and it manages to encapsulate and pull in the feel of the Moonrakers experience while doing so in a drastically different way, while working together with others the entire time, as opposed to working together up until the end where you start the backstabbery and betrayal elements of the game. Past that, there's a few extra things going on in the game. We have the holographic card pack. This is something that's going to be included in a bunch of pledge levels over here that's going to give you holographic, prettier versions of cards in the game, the contents of which are going to be determined based on how well this campaign does and how the pack continues to grow. And based on how the campaign is doing so far, that seems like a pretty good place it's going to end up at the moment. Then we have the Endless, which is a little micro expansion bringing you various cards, various characters from the Veiled Fate universe into Moonrakers as more characters you can use. Characters are going to be one of the two ways, or well, there's a few ways you can actually upgrade your tableau. There's a general deck building in general. There's going to be the ship parts that you have, and there's going to be the characters you have as well. And you're going to be having these familiar faces brought into the Moonrakers universe from Veiled Fate. And then we have a bunch of additional add-ons that give you both ways of managing things as well as just premium upgraded components. We'll go through all those in the add-on section. And then lastly, we have the Titan box, giving you a big box way to organize absolutely everything. That's heavily what's going on in Moonrakers. We have the base game, which you can get over here. We have 3 primary expansions. We have the free add-on Luminar expansion. We have a bunch of small micro stuff as well, and then a bunch of component upgrades, all bring you to a place where you can spend anywhere between $35 for just an expansion, up to like $170 to get all the content if this is your first time diving in, and up to like $400 if you want really, really everything upgraded, all the parts, all the things that you could possibly want. And that's before we get to the real highlight of this campaign, the real highlight, which is going to be, where can I find it over here? The real highlight, the real secret, main show over here, which of course is Mythic Mischief. Mythic Mischief, my favorite game from Ivy Games, a game that I absolutely recommend. You should totally go ahead and buy all the stuff. And with that, I'll go back to Moonrakers because technically that's what the video is about. But Mythic Mischief. Anyways, I just. Moonrakers is excellent. Mythic Mischief happens to be my favorite game from Moonrakers, from Ivy Games. In any case, going through the actual contents over here at the pledge levels, we have a few things. We have $35 for pick an expansion. Currently, we have 56 people currently selecting that, which makes sense because that seems to be the least efficient way to jump into the game. For $65, we have the base game of Moonrakers, period. That's it. Not the big box, just the base Moonrakers Platinum Edition for $65. Then we have, for that, we have currently 270 people who are just interested in the base game. For $99, we have all 3 expansions. All 3 expansions for the game. Those are for people who want to jump into that. Again, 192 backers, and if you're like, why only 192 backers? Don't you want all 3 expansions? The answer is yes, but you probably, and more specifically, want the Titan Big Box at that point, because for an extra $15, you're getting the Titan Big Box, and that's where we have 4,037 backers who want the Titan Big Box and the 3 expansions. And that's going to run you $114, which is the main cost to go from what you currently have to having everything else. Not everything else, but a lot of everything else. And then for $179, we have currently 2,600 backers who are jumping in for the full pledge of basically everything, but not the add-on everything, but the everything else everything. The base game, the big box, the 3 expansions. You will not get an extra copy of the base game box, just to be clear. Everything will come pre-packaged in the Titan big box, and that will run you $179. This is where we get to the part of the video where I tell you that yes, this is a great game, particularly with the expansions. To me, Moonrakers was a great experience the first time I played it, and then it went a little bit down and down as we started to become a bit more cutthroat with the way we were and were not willing to ally with other players. And then the expansions have absolutely improved the experience for me, and Luminar has become my go-to way to play the game, at least as of right now. I need more time before I say that officially, but right now I think Luminar is going to be the main way I play Moonrakers in general. And overall, I think it's a great game and a great experience. And I think all the expansions enhance it. I think the free content, the add-ons, I think it all enhances the experience. But for $180 before you even get to deluxeifications, that is a big ask and something you want to make sure that you know this is a game you like. From my end, I should give you a caveat. From my end alone, I wouldn't recommend the base game of Moonrakers alone. I think it's good. I would recommend it as a good game, but it would not be my go-to, you absolutely have to get this game. It's an expensive game, comparatively speaking to other games you can play. I can recommend the Quest for El Dorado for $30, or I can recommend Moonrakers, which I have more issues with, for $65. But once you add the expansions in, the price point does go up, but it's a significantly better game and a very unique experience, one that is not fully replicated in any other game, and one that gives you an amazing experience, but for a reasonably high price point. As far as the add-ons, we have a few things. We have the negotiation board for $18. This will help you keep track of who's getting what as you negotiate. You get these credits, I get those cards, you'll take this bonus over here, I'll take these hazard dice. The negotiation board is going to let you manage and be on top of what you are and are not getting as you try to figure out, because I've played this game and you definitely can get lost in the shuffle. We have the Endless, which is the pack of 10 demigods, including 10 crew cards and sleeves. That gives you more cards over there, more crew cards. We have $12 for the Shard. The Shard's going to be one of the expansions from the original game, just giving you 5 crew, 5 ship parts, and 5 contracts. A little bit more of extra everything for the variety. We have the Holo Pack, which is giving you all the stuff over here. This is going to be $25, but is free for every pledge of $99 or more. We have $5 for the Holo Moramada, the single most powerful card in the game, supposedly, I guess, that you can display in its more premium form. For $5, we have extra dice over here in case you want to pass dice around less. The Titan box has space for 8 dice. So understand if you're trying to get 12 or 16 or whatever dice, I mean, maybe you can manage it. They do say that the Titan box does have extra space for hypothetical future content. So I'm sure there's ways and places you can put it, but understand that it's designed around 8 dice, so just factor that in. We have a bunch of pins you can get over here. These are only going to be in the PM, the Pledge Manager. And then we have all the metal stuff that you can spend a whole lot more money on the extra metal things. We have hematite dice for $35, which I absolutely want. Growing up, my mother was very into various semi-precious gems, and hematite growing up was always my favorite gem. Every single time, I loved hematite, the sheen, the shine, the color, and having hematite dice is, well, it's cool. It's definitely cool. Although it will potentially damage soft surfaces, so understand that. We have more coins. Personally speaking, I've never needed more coins than the base game came with. Over here, the base game has plenty, but some backers need more. I've never needed more. I've never gone through them all. So, I mean, back it if you want, get this if you want. Understand that I have never needed to go into the well to get coins that were not there. We have $30 for metal ships if you want those. To be very clear, these are nice. I like them. I don't know if I think they're as worth it for $30 for the price of an entirely new game. That's your call. $15 gives you the metal faction rep tokens. I don't think I've ever had these, so I can't comment on them overall, but once you're going all metal, you're going to go all metal anyways. And then for $20, we have the metal iosphere tokens, and for $59, you get a bundle of all the metal tokens. This does not include the hematite dice. Then we have a bunch of Neophene Mat add-ons for $20 for dispatch maps, $12 for the Nomad navigation map, and then we have a bunch of sleeve add-ons, all these things over here. And that's everything you get over here before you start going to the extra game content and components and all of that stuff. That's everything going on here. So, review, thoughts, well, not review, initial thoughts covering all that stuff, as well as should you back it, should you not, and all of that. As a starting baseline, like I said already, I think Moonrakers at its core is a good game. It's very well loved, very well loved. For me, I think Moonrakers is a good game that had its few too many issues that made it inconsistently good, and that would make it a game that I don't keep around. To me, the expansions so far, time might tell, but so far the expansions have absolutely made it a better game, and one that I am a significant improvement over where it was for me, and a game that I'm looking forward to playing it, to enjoying it, to diving into it. For me, I love Overload and I love Binding Ties. I would never play Moonrakers without those. Nomads I enjoy, but for me, Nomads is more take it or leave it. If the expansions were being priced separately, I don't know if I'd buy Nomads as part of a bundle. I think I would. I think I'd want the variety option or whatnot. But I like Nomads without loving Nomads. It's not bad, it just doesn't necessarily improve the experience for me. Although if you look through the page over here, you'll see a few people who definitely talk about how Nomads is their favorite expansion, so take that into account. These are all just my own opinions. The extra card content, that's just good for variety. Having more ship parts, more crew, more contracts, all that's good for variety. Luminor itself is free, and understand that anything gives you new contracts. Not helpful for Luminor, which is going to have its own managing system as far as the way the contracts are dished out, but which having the extra crew and all those things, that will help. When you play Luminor, you get to check which expansions you have, and it'll build the experience around the content that you have, so the more content you have, the better it is. So overall, Moonrakers, a solid game, a game that the expansions have brought it right back to where it was for me, and a truly enjoyable experience that I absolutely recommend, with the caveat that you're going to have to spend a decent amount of money to get that full and complete Moonrakers experience. Which brings us to the should you back it? Should you back it, should you not? Well, it depends. Should you back it, generally a conversation around two general things. The first is this worth it to you? If you like this game, if you want this game, if you're not taking into account resale value, if you're not taking into account whether you like it, don't like it, all that stuff, if you're just taking into account, is this worth it? The answer I have there is, first of all, it's a personal choice, obviously, but secondly is, at $180 as the floor to the experience that I would recommend. It's an experience that I do recommend, but weigh up what else you have. Weigh up what other experiences you want. You can get Dominion and like 4 expansions. You can get Quest of El Dorado and save yourself $150. There are a lot of games and contents. You can go all in on Cosmic Encounter. If you are looking for the space negotiation experience, but deck building's less your thing, $180 will buy you most, if not all, of the Cosmic Encounter experience as well. So there are a lot of ways to go ahead and jump on different options over here, on different things you can get your hands on, and you have to make that determination for yourself as to whether it's worth $180 to you, or are there other things you would rather spend that money on. As far as will it hold its value? Generally, yes. Moonrakers has done a fantastic job. If you look at the secondhand market on Moonrakers, it is a game that is hard to get your hands on. It is a game that is a premium experience at a premium price point, but it's a game that has bought enough love, goodwill, and reviews and content and people who like the game, that it's a game that in general, the original base game sells for significantly above what people paid for it. This is a game that has absolutely held its value, as evidenced by the fact that we have 4,000 plus people returning to get more stuff. We have 2,000 plus 2,600 people jumping in on everything for the first time. There are a lot of people who want to get their hands on this, on everything, and that will continue to remain true because, well, because it's wanted, it's desired, it's a good game with an audience and a following, and it will continue to do well. And then lastly, the last thing I want to touch upon briefly as we go through this is just the end page shipping table, which I want to go over, if I can find it. There's a shipping table at the end that I thought was excellent and well done, if I can find it, which is over here, somewhere, scrolling through the page rapidly. Over here, we have this transparent flat rate shipping. This is something that I think is really nice. I'm not trying to push other companies to do it, but I think it is nice to see this. What they did is they laid out in red all their quoted prices for every single thing, and then they laid out in green what you're actually being charged. So you can see over here, obviously trust is a factor here, but I think lying with these things is weird. You need one person who would like just say this is not accurate. This is, I assume, their quota prices. But overall, they gave their quota prices for the expansions, for the base game, for the Titan box, for all different regions, and they said, here's what you're paying. You're paying $15. Yes, it's going to cost us anywhere between $23 to $30 to ship that. You're paying $15. It's a nice way of showing you both the cost you're paying, even though it might seem high, even though it adds up, but then showing you, yes, this is what it is. This is the subsidized amount. This is what we're being quoted. Here is a fully transparent shipping table. I think it's a very cool idea, and I think campaigns should do it in general, if and when they could. But obviously, well, obviously, every company's going to have their own determinations. In any case, that's Moonrakers. A whole lot of stuff to go over here. If you want more reasons not to back it, well, you can go ahead and jump and watch any of these videos over here. For myself, I would just say it's expensive. Weigh up whether this experience is worth it to you or not, but past that, every other count, I would recommend this game. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., where last time, that's the wrong channel. Wow. Wow. We have another channel called Quack & Co., where I have a different sign-off for Quack & Co., and I have never done that on a Board Game Co. video. Anyways, let's try that again. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.